Great. Anybody else hear me? Nobody hear me?
I can hear you.
I know you can. No sound. Jesus. What up, though? There we go. All right, good. Here we go. So Control's not here. Bill, what's happening? How you feeling tonight?
Good. A little sore after that doubleheader victorious for wire to wire last night, but overall good. Been a good day.
You got 2 games in. It's a lot for Big Dog.
Yeah.
Plus, you play Mondays. So, what up, Kyle? What up, Timmy Todd, Travis? How y'all feeling today?
Can you guys hear us now?
Yeah. I hear you. No Bill or Control. Bill's popping up now. We're getting the graphics fixed. Lot of technical difficulties tonight, but we are here tonight. We are here. So let's get rolling. Let's talk about NCAA. Little recap action. Little recap of week 3.
Somebody had a big week last weekend.
I don't know. So I went 4-0, hit my super dog, caught right back up. I'm in a groove, man. I missed one game. I missed one game by 2 points. And if Jerry Jeudy doesn't get hurt, I sweep the board the whole weekend. Tell you that right now.
I didn't have a good NFL weekend. I went 3-0 in college again, so I'm dialed in there. I just got to get my footing in NFL. It's so crazy. I lost the Cleveland game on that bullshit finish. I thought that was locked. I even stopped watching it, but I gotta give you some kind of competition. I gotta push you a little bit.
Listen, in NFL, I'm only 3-3 right now, so you're not that far behind me. I had a 1-2 opening week, and then we went 2-1. Now I did miss my third game by just literally 2 points, but that's okay. I'm a roll this week. I got some wild picks this week. You'll see. I'm a little bit nuts. I also have I'm not gonna use it as an official pick because it's weird, but I will tell you to stay away from a game this week, and I'm gonna get into that. I love Control's picture. There's Control. Look at his nice picture there.
That's young Cottrell.
Young Cottrell. 28-3, Atlanta still haunting. Yeah, I guess so. Y'all gonna hear about the Eagles. I'm gonna tell you something right now. The Eagles are for real, bro. After Monday Night Football, the Eagles are for real. They have an opportunity to go a long way. So Bill picked him as the number 2 seed in the NFC. So he's a lot closer than I was. I only had him number 4.
I told you when I'm that optimistic about the Eagles, it's either spot on or horribly wrong. So we'll see how a lot of football left to go, but we'll see. He's back. Hulk Cottrell's back.
Oh, he's moving well. You'll see it shortly. But
we gotta get Cottrell some Hulk hands for that green screen.
Just leave it there. Don't go with that Buckeyes bullshit.
Oh yeah, no teams this week. Especially after that Browns debacle last week.
Yeah, you ain't kidding.
Bro,
82 retention from Vegas, man. That was their biggest moneymaker this week. Was that game? Wild.
Listen, I know, and I don't want to beat up Control too much on this one, but it was great for my survivor pool. There's a lot of people pick the Browns. A lot of people knock them out, get them out of there. By the way, I'm in all 4 of my survivor pools still. I got lucky with 1, but I'm in.
I mean, 3 weeks into the season, I would usually say that's not an accomplishment, but this year it is.
Yo, we lost half our survivor pools. Both. I'm in 1 survivor pool where there's only 6 people left.
I know my sister's in a big one, and I remember the Colts-Texans game knocked out like half of hers. Yeah, man. There's been a lot of upsets, crazy upsets the first couple of weeks that are survivor pools are not very friendly right now.
So week 3, not a very impressive NCAA week, if I do say so myself. What were your highlights from week 3 NCAA? Your thought process, and how do you think the week went? What was your favorite game? And if you want to give me like a player or a team that most impressed or disappointed, but it went exactly how I thought it would. Ohio State did exactly what I thought they were going to do. Oh, we're going to beat up on a team, and now CJ Stroud's trending up. I seen the video, Dante. I like it, but at the end of the day, he always trends up versus dog shit of America.
I mean, yeah, to your point, I think it was kind of a status quo week for college football. Didn't have any of the, didn't have a lot of marquee matchups, which we highlighted last week. And there was, nothing wild happened, which is good sometimes. Sometimes you just want to see your team go out and win and handle business and have a relaxing Saturday. But I mean, we're going to start gearing up here soon because we're going to start getting into conference play. Big Ten opens this weekend. So does the SEC. SEC already did actually, but it's we're starting to get into the meat of all the schedules and the great part of college football. So I'm excited for that. I don't know what my favorite game of the week was. I don't know. I have to think about that. I don't think nothing really necessarily stood out to me. I thought Penn State was impressive. I'll be honest. I thought they went down there. That game was close for a while, and they kind of found another gear and put Auburn away very convincingly, to be honest. So that will be that sticks out to me. Obviously, being the local team. October 15th starting to look real interesting, Gene. Just let you know, starting to look real interesting. But I don't know. I mean,
I think Michigan's running game was the most impressive thing I've seen this week. What that kid score? 5 touchdowns.
Blake Corum, yeah. He got way more carries this week because Donovan Edwards is a little banged up, and then just sat him out as a precaution, so he didn't split as much. He took all the first team stuff. Listen, man, he was the complimentary back to Hassan Haskins last year. Kid's really good. We'll see how he does in Big Ten play again, but he's a proven kid. So he's another one that does everything right off the field as well. It's hard not to be a Blake Corum fan, and that's not speaking from strictly being a Michigan fan. But yeah, he had a great day. Great in its UConn, but he 5 touchdowns is 5 touchdowns.
Got to give Controls credit. Picked that Michigan State game spot on, bro. Washington dominated.
Yes, they did.
Tell us about it, Control. Speak on it. Say what you just
I mean, Michael Penix, he showed everybody exactly what I thought he was. He got back to that Indiana style where he was one of the best quarterbacks in the conference, and I think he got to prove that in the spotlight against that Michigan State team. And I didn't think that the Michigan State team was properly ranked. I thought a lot of teams falling early and them going all the way up to 11. They weren't the 11th best team in the country, but you had to respect them because of what they did so far in the season. So I knew going across the country would be a tough challenge for them, and that Husky team really has it going. So I'm curious to see how that all shakes out in the end in the Pac-12.
I will say this, man. The agenda for Mel Tucker at Michigan State for how bad everybody wants him to succeed and overly pushes. Like Michigan State wasn't the 11th best team in the country, even to start the season. I agree with Cottrell. That was one of the ones I didn't get. For what they lost last year, coming off that, and granted they had a good team last year, but what they lost from that team coming back with Kenneth Walker, and a couple guys on defense. I mean, to say they were the 11th best team in the country to start the season, I thought was a reach. And Cottrell, like you said, hit the game spot on. They went out to Washington. They got exposed a little bit. That was a big loss for them. They finally showed up in the second half a little bit, but that was they are not what everybody wants them to be yet. They're still they're a little ways away to being anywhere near the level of Ohio State or making up ground like Michigan and even maybe some degree Penn State is.
Most impressive game to me was Oregon. I mean, what Oregon did to BYU, I did not expect that. Listen, we could say that Bo Nix at home his record at home versus his record on the road is ridiculous. Even go back to Auburn, but let's take it a step further, right? Or was that Oregon's actually not that bad of a team, or is Georgia just so much better than everyone? Because what Georgia did to that Oregon team, and with that Oregon team that did that to the BYU team that just beat Baylor, what's the deal there? Is it just a bad matchup at Oregon?
I think we talked about it last week a little bit. I mean, it's first of all, I mean, and all being honest, all things being said, it was a home game for Georgia. So, and you get in week one, you get the national champions, starting week one at home, and all those kids had experience. They're all used to playing with each other. Bo Nix is taking the field officially for the first time with with that team. And I'm not making any excuses for his play or anything. I think if they play next week, I think it's a different game. I think Georgia still wins. Georgia probably still wins comfortably. I don't think Georgia wins by 46. And listen, you nailed the other thing right on the head. Bo Nix historically, when he was home at Auburn, he was great. When he was on the road, he was not good. And that's, it's a comfort level for some people. So, anybody that goes up to Oregon, that's a tough game. It's a tough place to play. It's super loud. And Oregon's got talent. You know what I mean? They got talent all over that field. I think they're going to be a little bit of a Jekyll and Hyde team, but between them, USC, Utah, even Oregon State now, it's all going to sort itself out. But I think it's a combination of things. I think Georgia's just that damn good, to be honest, too.
Georgia let their first touchdown up with 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, with like the walk-ons on, yeah.
Yeah. So, excuse me. One game I wanted to talk about that's not on our agenda, and it's not on our agenda, but PD brought it up, and he said USC on upset alert versus Oregon State. Your thoughts on that?
Not quite.
I'm picking that game, so I'm not going to answer that right this second, but I will address it when we get to pick them.
Okay, well then let's get into our preview then. Why are you laughing? What are we laughing about? We're going to talk about Ohio State winning by 50 over dog shit at International?
No, I'll be at the game, so I don't care.
All right, well, with Ohio State versus Wisconsin?
Yep.
Oh, God. We'll talk about that. I'll talk about that with you. So we got Florida at Tennessee. Florida at Tennessee. It's a game I'm looking forward to. Tennessee is a 10.5 point favorite in this game. A lot of the Anthony Richardson talk kind of calmed down a little bit. He was dominated for Heisman Trophy. He was like number 4. What happened?
Got that hype train going.
I mean, that's what happens when you beat Utah, who people had in their playoffs to start the year, and then you go out and lay an egg versus Kentucky, and that's what happens.
I need shots fired. Okay. So, I mean, your thoughts on this game? Hendon Hooker, Tennessee, roll?
I don't know about roll, just because when you get, the SEC matchups, I don't think it's going to be a roll, but I do like Tennessee to win this game. Gene, you, Dante as well, been all over Hendon Hooker. Hendon Hooker's a great football player, and that Vols team, they're clicking on all cylinders already. And I think, Georgia is obviously the clear favorite on their side of their conference, but I think that this Tennessee team, they're gonna be building that momentum. And at this point, I thought before the season that Florida would be the team to knock them off, but if anybody's going to do it from that side of the division, it's going to be Tennessee. But I like Tennessee in this one. I don't know if they cover 10.5, but I think they win, and I don't think Florida's in reach. I think they're just consistently chasing that touchdown to get back in the game.
I will say this, though. Tennessee's defense has been way better than advertised. I get it, but Pitt is no walk in the park, and they scored 27 versus Tennessee's defense, which isn't a ton. They didn't go 40. And then last week they won 63-6. I get it. Not great competition, but Tennessee's defense has looked better than advertised. If you get that style offense with Hendon Hooker and you get a defense that can just keep up, just be like Oklahoma was for years, I think Tennessee can make a lot of noise. I don't think they're going to beat Georgia. I think that Cottrell is grasping at straws, trying to find a team because he didn't put Georgia in his college football playoff. That's okay. It's all right. Grasp at those straws. I appreciate that. Georgia is going to roll, and that's okay.
Georgia's the clear favorite, and I would expect Georgia to roll in that game too. I'm just saying I think Tennessee has shown so far they're the second best team on that side of the division.
I think Tennessee wins the game. I think they win it by 14 points. I think they barely cover. I don't like it enough to pick the game, but I will say this. I think Tennessee is a better team than Florida. I think Florida's going to have no problem running the football. I think they'll score. I think it'll be a particularly high-scoring game. And if I had to give a prediction on score, it would be Tennessee 41, Florida's 27.
It's pretty close to what I have. No, Tennessee's definitely going to score. I think Florida's defense is the better of the two, but it's slim. I do agree with Eugene. Coming into the season, Tennessee's defense was the concern. and they played above grade so far. They're not great. They're kind of a bend don't break. They're not intimidating. They're not a Georgia type defense or anything like that. But to your point, they're not the floodgates like they were last year, or what people were maybe concerned they were going to be this year. The offense is great. Hendon Hooker, we've talked about him already. Listen, Florida struggles to move the ball if they can't run the ball. If Tennessee can slow down the run at all and put the game in Anthony Richardson's hands, Florida's going to struggle. He just has not been consistent this year. Has not shown the consistency or the steadiness, honestly, or a step forward or maturing from last year in throwing the ball. A lot of people wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt for looking shaky against Georgia, which is, respectable and understandable with as good as Georgia's defense is. He hasn't looked much better this year, to be quite honest, throwing the football. He played the first 2 games, didn't even have a touchdown pass. I think Tennessee's going to roll as well. I had them winning by 13. I had them 43-30, Tennessee over Florida.
Want to get a score prediction out of you, Control?
I'll go 31-23 Tennessee.
All right, so you got Tennessee not covering. I get it. You got
Florida
covering.
I don't think they're going to cover.
I think that 10.5 tells me that Vegas wants you to bet on Florida. Like, that's what that 10.5 is. Those matchup numbers: 3.5, 7.5, 10.5, 14.5. That's one of them.
It makes you feel comfortable saying do you think Florida is then 2 touchdowns better than 10 or Tennessee's 2 touchdowns better than Florida? Because that's pretty much what you're betting on at that point. I could trail a little Utah shot. You should be, Gene brought it up as well. You don't have Georgia in your Final Four, so let's wait. When that all dust settles at the end of the year, we'll make sure we bring that back up.
That's fine.
I just said shots fired. I didn't bring it up. I picked Utah to lose to Florida, though. I did pick that.
Me too.
That's okay. Arkansas at Texas A&M. At Texas A&M.
I think this is the true game of the week.
Okay.
I think it's unfortunate because A&M dropped one early, but I think this is the matchup that I'm looking forward to. I guess I'll kick it off. I mean, KJ Jefferson for Arkansas, he's special talent. I mean, dual threat kid. I mean, if anybody should be getting the comparison to Cam Newton play style wise, it should be him. Obviously, you can't just go out there and say everybody's Cam Newton, but I think in that conference right now, KJ Jefferson's the one that's most like Cam Newton. Runs hard, throw the football well. I think I got Arkansas winning. I think they go into College Station and they win the game.
I agree with you though. I think
Gene, did you hear that though? Did you hear that? That was Cottrell officially jumping off the Anthony Richardson bandwagon. I just make sure you got that.
I will say this though. That is I agree with him though. I think KJ Jefferson's a lot more of a better comparison to Cam Newton and Anthony Richardson. I think that's
I agree.
That's spot on. I don't think either one of them will ever be Cam.
Correct.
What Cam was.
Correct.
But if you want to say like a Cam 0.5, like those baby Shaqs, the baby Jordans that used to get in the NBA. Yep. Okay, I could see it with KJ Jefferson. I couldn't see it with Anthony Richardson. Cam Newton had a cannon. My man, before he took so many hits, when he used to like dive over the line, I think his shoulder got messed up, if I'm being honest with you.
Well,
I think his shoulder.
Anthony Richardson is way more Tim Tebow than Cam Newton.
That's fair. Fair.
Don't disrespect Tim Tebow like that.
It's not disrespect. Fair. I'm just saying.
Tim Tebow's won rings, sir. Tim Tebow's a college football legend.
I'm just saying.
I don't know how much money Anthony Richardson sent you in a little white envelope at the beginning of the year. You obviously spent it all now, though, and you're like,
look. If you compare the two, Richardson's way closer to Tebow than what he is to Cam Newton, in my opinion.
That's disrespectful to Tim Tebow.
I think it's very disrespectful to Tim Tebow. Tim Tebow could be the greatest college football player ever.
Facts.
Which one is Anthony Richardson more like?
I don't know. Neither
Tebow or Jefferson.
That's like saying what player am I most like? Steph Curry or Klay Thompson? Yeah. Like that's none of the above.
Anthony Richardson's closer to Sean Clifford than he is Tim Tebow.
That is a fact. That's a fact. Scientific. I hope Sora don't listen to this episode, bro. Your boy Sora gonna EJ Manuel. I like it. That's a great one. EJ Manuel. That's a great one.
Dante always got to get Dante got to get his seminal stuff in.
I love it. It's great.
He did the pros.
Tebow sucked in the NFL.
Not college.
Tebow sucked in the NFL. He's the greatest college player ever. That's my opinion. All right, for this game, you go second because I'll let you go third last time.
No, I got to give a quick shout out to Brandon. Brandon, my dude, is actually in Nashville today. Went down there for vacation, still tuned in to say what's up. So we appreciate that.
Dude, Brandon's the man. Love Brandon.
Yeah, Brandon's one of your customers now. You're welcome. Who we got left? Oh, Clemson, Wake Forest. All right.
No, you got.
You're not gonna pick Arkansas A&M. Just screw it.
I hate Texas. I hate Jimbo Fisher. So I'll go Arkansas. Fair. Arkansas 23. Texas A&M 16.
Okay, well, I guess I'll be on my island. I'll take Texas A&M at home. I'll take Jimbo Fisher at home. I think he's the better coach, and I think what he's going to end up doing is I think he'll have a game plan to slow down KJ Jefferson, and I think they'll keep that game low scoring. I'll take Texas A&M 23, Arkansas 20 in a very, very close game. Very, very close game. But give me A&M with the win. Listen, that home matters, man. College football home games are so important. I'll take A&M. I think A&M is going to be really good next year, but I'll take A&M.
If they can get a quarterback, they probably make the college football playoff. If they can figure out the quarterback position.
Yeah.
All right, we got the next one. And this was the trap game for Clemson last week that I talked about. I mean, what was that game? 13-6 at halftime? My super dog pick last week. And, Clemson ended up pulling away in the second half, but I'm not a believer in Clemson, man. They're 7.5-point favorites over Wake Forest. DJ Ukulele still looks terrible. He doesn't look good. He's not. I really like Clemson's defense. I think they'll slow down Wake a lot. I think it's gonna be a weird game. And for whatever reason, I still think Clemson wins the game. I just think it's gonna be a very, very close game. I would not be surprised. Yeah, I cannot pronounce it. Thank you, bro. Uwe Ungulele. Did I do it right, Dante? Give me a thumbs up.
It's close.
I can't.
Let's just call him DJ.
DJ. Listen, I got Giannis down. I can get DJ down. Well, DJ's not good enough for me to get it down. So
exactly.
But I'll start with this one. I'll go Wake Forest. No, plus the 7.5, but I'll take Clemson to win the game. Clemson by 3. Close one, 27-24. With a defensive touchdown to make it. Here's my thought process, right? I think it'll be 20-17 Clemson, Wake Forest driving, pick 6, strip sack fumble, something of that nature, makes it 27-17. Wake Forest scores a late garbage time touchdown, backdoor cover, 27-24.
I really, really, really want to pick Wake Forest just to win out right here. I do. I just again, just letting my head pick it. It's tough to pick against Clemson. The defense is still elite. It's still a top 10 defense in the league, in the country. Averaging only 2.5 yards per rush. They're going to shut Wake Forest's running game down. Now, Wake Forest does like to throw the ball more than run the ball anyway, so that's where it could get interesting. If they can come out early and establish the run game, maybe short passes, get Clemson to come out of take the extra guy out of the box a little bit, then I think it's interesting. And obviously the marquee matchup, the important matchup of the game is going to be how does DJ and that offense play against Wake Forest's defense. They are the definition of a bend, don't break defense. They give up lots of yards. They give up a lot of chunk plays quite consistently. Once they get inside the 20, though, they have decent red zone defense. Can DJ get touchdowns and not have to exchange field goals instead? You get in the red zone and you keep kicking field goals versus touchdowns, usually ends up biting your ass at some point in the game. I think the game is close, like Gene said. Like I said, I want to pick Wake Forest. I think they cover, but I'm going to take Clemson 27-26.
Okay, 1 point Clemson win. I got you.
I mean, I agree with pretty much everything you guys have already said. Sam Hartman, I trust him more than I trust DJ, but that Clemson defense is good. And, I know they say offense wins games, defense wins championships. I think Clemson's defense is going to win them this game. I think it's a situation where Clemson is going to double Perry on the outside, and Sam Hartman's that's going to essentially take away, Wake Forest's number one option, and I think that makes Sam Hartman uncomfortable. I think Sam Hartman is a good player, and him and Perry have that connection, but I think that Tigers' defensive line is going to get after him this game. I do think it's going to be a lower scoring game. I will take Clemson 20. I think Wake Forest only scores 6. I think it's going to be a truly low-scoring game, but that Clemson defense is going to be ready to play.
So alternate spread under 27.5. Got it. Thank you. Guys, let's get into college football pick'em this week. Last week, 4-0. So let me divvy out the order. We'll go Cottrell leading us off. I'll go second. Shalley's leading for the year, so we'll respect him. We'll let him go third. So let's lead us off, Cottrell.
This respect thing, unbelievable.
I gotta give him some respect, bro. He's leading the pack right now.
I hear you. I
went 3-0 again as well. So I mean,
whatever.
I don't know.
Anywho,
you're the rear of the train with Anthony Richardson. I don't tell you.
With Kate McNamara on the depth chart.
Yeah.
All right. My first pick, I got Ohio State minus 18.5 against Wisconsin. I think this is a borderline lock. Wisconsin has shown that their offense isn't great, and they lost to Washington State earlier this year. Them traveling to the Horseshoe, I think it's a lock for Ohio State to win by 18.5. Everyone's healthy as well. Next game, I got USC minus 6.5 at Oregon State. I think the Vegas odds makers, they do not want to give USC their respect. So I'm taking USC, and I think they continue to keep it rolling in Lincoln Riley fashion. They round the score there. And then the other one, I got JMU plus 7.5 at App State. I think App State is coming off of a super emotional win last week, and this is the opening game for the Sun Belt in their conference play. And so I think JMU they're gonna go to App State and they're gonna battle. And it's not a far trip. So JMU doesn't turn the ball over either. So App State's gonna have to bring it all 4 quarters. I think JMU covers.
App State's sitting here like, respect me. Listen to me. Yo, rank them. I mean, based off what they've done.
They should be ranked for sure. I don't know how they aren't ranked in reality. Like, I get it, tough loss week 1, North Carolina. But outside of that, I mean, you go out there and you put on these performances. Everybody in the country wants to see App State play. Why not just give them a number 25 next to their name, make their games a little bit more interesting? Bro,
that Hail Mary was something.
Did you see the App State announcers in the booth talking about it while it was happening? It was nuts. They were just in the booth, you could tell they were just really going through the motions, last play of the game, and then they just stood up right at the end. They're like, oh, he caught it, he's at the 5, going in, touchdown. I want App State to be ranked, but
it should be ranked. Texas A&M shouldn't be ranked.
I remember last week I told you I rock chalk, and I don't do that very often. In the NFL, I'm not doing it today. But in college football, I am rocking chalk. I'm going to call this Disrespect Week. Disrespect Week. I'm going to start with this one. Easy one. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Graham Mertz, Wisconsin, they stink. They're not beating Ohio State. Ohio State's going to do another C.J. Stroud for Heisman. C.J. Stroud's, and they're going to try to run it up on a pathetic Wisconsin team, and they're going to beat them really bad. I got Ohio State minus 18.5. Ohio State's a lot better. Defensively, they're going to be a nightmare for Wisconsin. Offensively, they're going to move the ball at will. Their skill position players are just way too fast. They're better. It's just Ohio State by 40. Speaking of 40, SEC Open Conference plays. Alabama is opening up at home versus not opening up at home, but playing Vanderbilt in Alabama, and they're 40.5 point favorites. Well, guess what? I like Bama rolling Vanderbilt. The wipe your feet when you get to the door of the SEC. Bama minus 40.5 over Vanderbilt. And this was the last one. It's disrespectful. BYU is a good football team. They're a good football team. They got destroyed at Oregon last week. So what are they going to come back and do to get Wyoming this week? BYU in a get-right game, minus 22.5 over Wyoming. I like BYU. And for my super dog. Did you do the super dog, Joe?
I did not. I'll give it after you finish up.
For my super dog. Listen, I don't think Sean Clifford's ever ran it up on anybody. Give me Central Michigan University plus 28 at Happy Valley. I think they keep the game close. I really do. I think Penn State's offense is no juggernaut to where they're going to run it up, and I think Central Michigan's going to score. They've scored in every one of their games this year. They kept it really close with Oklahoma State earlier in the year. I'll take
Correct.
Central Michigan plus 28. I don't think they're going to win, but I can see it being a 14-point game. I'll pick up some points.
I actually really like that pick, Gene. That was actually one of the ones I was looking at. But in the spirit of college football, I had to go with Kent State is plus 44.5 at Georgia. Give me my golden
to Georgia, bro.
Give me my golden flashes to pick me up some points. I think they lose by 41, but I haven't hit a super dog all year. Give me Kent State to pick me up 2 or 3 points in this one, man. I got the flashes. Stanford kept it close. They only lost by 33. My flashes can do the same thing. They can get me some points here and get annihilated by Georgia, but keep me in the thick of it in this college football race.
Yo, good thing for Kent State, man. They're just going everywhere and getting their ass kicked this year. That organization,
Oklahoma,
making
Georgia.
A lot of money. Yeah, facts.
Show me the money. Show me the money.
I will say this, though. Kent State has a way better non-conference schedule than Michigan does.
Oh, wow. All right, so where we're going to start. I'm going to start on the ACC this week. I'm going to take Syracuse minus 9.5 at home against Virginia. Syracuse played a great game last week. I believe Cottrell picked them last week.
Indeed.
Kind of a sloppy game in the second half. Some crazy stuff happened, turnovers, all kinds of stuff like that. They will be home. Biggest reason I'm picking them, Virginia's not good. They're not a good football team at all. I think Syracuse gets some stuff corrected this week. I think they can win by 10 at home against Virginia. Virginia struggled to barely beat Old Dominion last week. And there was a point in the game where it looked like they were going to lose. So I'm going Syracuse at home minus 9.5. The second game I'm going to kind of already gave it away when PD commented. I'm taking USC minus 6.5 at Oregon State as well. For the same reason that Cottrell mentioned. I mentioned it on the show last week. Vegas doesn't really trust USC yet, and they continue to show it every week with these spreads. Oregon State is going to be by far the best team they've played this year. Corvallis is not an easy place to play. It will be loud, and those people will show up for that game. I think maybe Caleb throws an early interception, something like that, but I think they get settled down. They can Riley make some adjustments at halftime, and I think they pull away in the second half. I think USC wins by about 13 to 14 points, somewhere in there. So I will take USC minus 6.5 on the road. For my last pick, I went crazy last week. It took Kansas plus 9.5. They ended up winning the game by 16. I'm going to go double down and be even more blasphemous for myself this week. And I'm going to pick the same game that you two already picked. I'm taking Ohio State minus 18.5 at home against Wisconsin. For a lot of the reasons you guys already mentioned, Graham Mertz stinks. Wisconsin's going to run the ball. Ohio State's defense so far this year has been better against the run. And I just don't think it's looking like Smith and Jigba's going to play. And I just don't think Wisconsin has anywhere near the horses that they had 2 years ago to run around and cover and Jigba and Harrison Jr. and all those guys. So I agree with Gene as well. They're going to try to run it up, get the old CJ Stroud for Heisman campaign in high gear. And I think don't start spelling your 4-letter words again. I think you're smart. And I think they pull away, win comfortably, probably by 24 or more. So I will go Ohio State at home. My super dog pick. I didn't really like anyone this week. So I'm just throwing a dart at the board here. I did a little research on this. Mississippi State's offense is not good. Defense is pretty good, but their offense, they're kind of like a miniature version of A&M. They don't have great quarterback play. They struggle to move the ball consistently. Bowling Green stinks. Don't get me wrong, but they're feisty. I looked up all the results. They'll at least put some points on the board. They got a couple athletes out wide that can move. I'll take Bowling Green plus 30.5. Hope and a prayer, and maybe I pick up some bonus points. Who the hell knows?
Bowling Green outright. I'm just kidding.
That'd be wild. That would if Bowling Green won outright, this is like over.
They upset Minnesota last year, so
yeah.
All right, well, that's it for college football picks. We got some NFL games to talk about. We got some wildness in the NFL. So
I'm already sad.
Good. I hope you're sad. You should be sad. That performance was sad. Jersey Joe Flacco and the New York Jets just scored 31 points against the Browns in their stadium in their home opener with Elfie the Elf.
Brownie the Elf. Better tear that sod up ASAP.
Get rid of it.
Put the damn helmet back on there. Put the damn helmet back on the damn stadium.
The helmet was never there. We always had a Bear 50-yard logo. Elfie, Brownie.
You know what? After last
week,
that's what you deserve. You don't deserve colored spray paint this week. You get the 50-yard line, and that's it.
Listen, we got the best midfield logo in the league. So
big fat L.
I swear. Yo, Homer Simpson has never been more of a better nickname for you.
Brownie the Elf. I feel about Brownie how you guys feel about who's your ugly Phillies mascot?
The Fanatic, the best mascot.
Best mascot in the history of professional sports. That one.
Yeah, that one.
Okay, yeah, the ugly one. Yeah. So that's how I feel about Brownie.
That's a horrible comparison, bro.
Yo, I got to stop. Tiny's threatening me. She needs me to throw my role. Listen, I'll mess with a lot of people. I'll mess with Tiny. That's my girl.
I'll tell you what. It takes talent to make Joe Flacco look like old school Joe Namath and the old Jets with the white cleats, and that's what you guys did. You guys made Joe Flacco look like Joe Namath. Look at that Elf. That thing's creepy as hell.
Garrett Wilson.
Oh, it matches their quarterback. Creepy.
Ooh.
That was a good one-liner. All right.
So Brissett's not creepy.
What was your thought process on Nick Chubb's comments today? Did everybody heard them?
I'm assuming you meant about him taking the blame on his shoulders and saying, in hindsight, I should have went down and I put this on me. I mean, I think that's just the guy Nick Chubb is. I know last year, it happened in that Texans game where he had the breakaway run and he literally stepped out at the 1 yard line and we got to sit on the ball 3 times, get out of there. In this game, though, I think this situation was a lot different. It was the first down marker was at the 2 yard line. No one's going to completely stop momentum just to dive down on the ground, especially in that situation because he cut back to score. I think in a situation, if you go up 13 points against a team that has 0 timeouts, you should win that game 100 times out of 100. So I put zero fault on Nick Chubb here. Everything goes to everyone on that defense, Joe Woods, everyone on the special teams, the hands team, everybody but Nick Chubb. In a different situation, if they weren't at the goal line, I'm okay with saying, all right, Chubb, yeah, you could have went down. I'm not going to 100% blame you. But when you're at the 2 yard line and it's a position to go up 2 touchdowns and the team has no timeouts left with a minute left, that blame can't go to Nick Chubb. But I appreciate him saying that and be a leader of that team.
I agree with you. I'm going to take a step further. Do you know what the play of that game was that really just blew my mind?
What's that?
So the Browns go up 30-17. I know Cade York misses the extra point. That's huge. But the Browns go up 30-17. They kick the ball off, and they allow them to score on one play that Kyle Edwards got it perfect. Don't let Corey Davis get wide. Why are we not playing 3 deep and making them throw every ball? So even if they do get the onside kick, you play 3 deep.
15 seconds left or whatever.
Correct. You play 3 deep and make them nickel and dime you down the field. Even if they get 10, 15 yards of play, they still don't get the ball back with the 45 seconds. A Hail Mary has to beat you.
Yep.
But to allow them to score on one play, and Corey Davis was so open. Corey Davis was way more open than anybody in the NFL last week. I can't believe that happened. How do you allow that to happen? That's the blame.
2 weeks in a row.
That's wild. Yeah, Robbie Anderson. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, I agree with both of you. I mean, I think it's Nick Chubb trying to deflect some of the blame and, you know, take some of the heat off the guys in the locker room, especially on the defensive side of the ball. You know, it's what a veteran leader in a locker room, you know, tries to do. You know, I'll give him his due on that, and you know, he's doing the right thing by the book. But that being said, it's a joke. You go up to score a touchdown with, you know, a minute and a half to go to put your team up 13. You don't dive on the ground. You go in and score. Yeah, you're assuming your defense, which is heralded with stars all over it, can hold a 13-point lead with a minute to go against the Jets.
I disagree with that part.
What?
I do not score a touchdown there. That's not accurate at all. If he falls down the 1 yard line, they can kneel the ball. The game's over.
Yeah,
if he runs out of bounds at the 1 yard line, he can kneel the ball. I'm not saying it's his fault, but if anybody could replay that, like 100%, 100 times out of 100, you fall down. This way, your defense doesn't have to get on the field. Nobody has to get hurt.
I agree, but when he was sprinting towards the pylon at that point. You cut back. I mean, you run risk of unnecessary injury by like falling down right was there.
The problem. You sprint to the 1 yard line, go out of bounds. You're already past the 2-minute warning. They have no timeouts left, and you just kneel the ball. All you had to do is sprint to the 1 yard line.
But the problem is that I don't know in that situation if he knew exactly where he was at first down wise. Like,
you see the pylon.
I know. No, I know you see the pylon. I know you see the pylon. But if he goes out of bounds right there, doesn't cut back. I don't know if he picks up the first down. Is what I'm saying. If he just runs out of bounds right there, there's a chance he doesn't pick up the first down. Then you kick a field goal and you're up 10 in the same situation where you're giving them the ball back with 2 minutes left.
At the end of the day, it doesn't matter, man. You can't give up 2 touchdowns in a minute. You just can't. And that's all it boils down to the end. I think Nick Chubb's fallen on the sword for some of those guys on the defense that are probably getting hounded in the locker room by reporters and national media people. And I get all that, dude. And I commend him for doing so. All the blame's on their side of the ball. Like I said, I just don't. It was crazy to watch. It was literally nuts to sit there and watch it on Red Zone. And then the onside kick, half the guys. That
was a great onside kick.
The kick was great. I mean, but like half the guys from the Browns jumped. They didn't want to touch it. They wanted nothing to do with it.
That's fair.
And the craziest stat that I saw was teams up 13 with less than a minute and a half to go were 2,219-0 until the Browns lost on Sunday. They're the first team in the last 2,219 games in that situation to lose a football game. That's how nuts it was.
What made it better though was that the game literally that they showed that they pulled up right after it was Ravens-Dolphins, and we got to see the Ravens wet the bed as well against the Dolphins. So that made it a lot better. Everybody in the AFC North lost, so I'm not a believer in moral victories, but that made me feel better at the end of the day. Instead of being off a cliff or the middle of 95 somewhere, I got to relax and watch everybody else fold. Bengals lose to a backup quarterback. It was all right at the end of the day.
My issue with it was
that's John Harbaugh's MO, bro. That's his MO his entire career. His entire career coaching the Ravens is their defense falls apart in the fourth quarter. They're never conditioned in the fourth quarter. I've talked about it in the show before. They're never, ever conditioned in the fourth quarter. They play 3 quarters of good football, and they let up more big leads than any team I've ever seen in my entire life. How you allow Tyreek Hill to get behind your defense twice. The first ball was, we're talking about Tua. I'm not complaining about Tua. Tua had his best game as a pro, period. Let me just be clear about that. Best game as a pro, period. 6 touchdowns, 400 and some yards. Great job, Tua. But you cannot let Tyreek Hill get behind your defense twice. First ball is horribly underthrown, but we're not going to get into that. The second throw he made to Tua, there was nobody around him to Tyreek Hill. Nobody was even close to Tyreek Hill. How does that happen? It
was bad. I mean, the only the only thing I would disagree with Cottrell is, obviously it's good to see, that you guys didn't lose a full game. The only difference for me is, and I said it in our group chat, is, I think a lot of people had Cleveland losing on the road to Carolina. You guys went and won that game, a tough game to open the season. You should have had a layup with the Jets to get 2-0. And I mean, then you're really putting yourself in better position to hold over until Deshaun gets back. And now you're kind of back to square one again after dropping that game.
I agree.
But I mean, again, I think Baltimore looked great for 3 quarters. Cincinnati looks terrible. And Pittsburgh is just going to struggle this year. So maybe we'll see what happens when they hand the ball over to Kenny Pickett, which I think is probably pretty imminent at this point. But, Baltimore's collapse wasn't much better. It really wasn't. I mean, and to Gene's point, the second one, there was nobody in the frame of the TV. Like, it was literally just blown coverage. Like, Tyreek Hill came off the line and started running downfield, and Baltimore was like, "Nah, they're not gonna throw it to him," and just let him go.
Each other.
Just let him go.
Safety in the corner yelling at each other.
Yep. So I don't know. It was a wild week.
By the way, I don't put any of that on unless Lamar Jackson or that Baltimore offense.
No.
Yeah, great game too.
There was another big comeback last week. This week also. What was your favorite game this week, Bill? Outside the Eagles.
Sarah, all right, because I was saying for me it was that.
Talk about that. I want to talk about the Cardinals Raiders game, bro. That was ridiculous.
That game was nuts.
Another wetting of the bed situation.
Bro, I'm not kidding with you. And I know this is going to take away from the whole game. But I'm telling you right now, I've watched that replay 50 times. That guy comes I forget the guy's name that recovered the final score. Byron Murphy. He comes so close to dropping that ball, throwing that ball before he crosses the goal line. If he does that, that would be the worst, like literally the biggest blunder in all the history of football. He threw that ball out of the end zone. Like, that would have been insanity. I watched that game, and I'll tell you, once again, first half, the offense was in shambles. And I feel like right now, the only time Kyler Murray looks good is when he's allowed to go off script.
Improvising.
Improvise. 100%. There's no, like, anticipation. There's no schemed routes open or he's missing them. That game was – listen, Arizona wanted to throw that game away. So let's not pretend that, like, Kyler Murray, oh, my Lord, your number 2, Max Crosby, had his arms on the guy's shoulder ready to throw him down. The game's over. Kyler Murray runs around for 25 seconds back there and eventually scores. I can't with that game. 4th and 1, they throw a bomb to Hollywood Brown. He drops the ball after getting smoked. Nobody wanted to win that game. I lost respect for the Raiders in that game, and I still didn't. The Cardinals didn't earn my respect winning that game.
I think the most surprising thing for me was how careless Hunter Renfrow was with the football. Like a guy who that's not what he's known for. Legit possession receiver. I would trust his hand. Obviously, they got Devontae Adams there, but I trust Hunter Renfrow's hands, and I'm sure Derek Carr would with pretty much anybody, any possession receiver in the league, up there like that. I'm sure he has that kind of trust in him. And so for him to put the ball on the dirt twice, that was very uncharacteristic. That game was all over the place.
It was. For anything, for what it really did for Arizona, kind of the opposite of Cleveland. They were staring 0-2 in the face, and there was going to start being a lot of talk. Cliff already takes a lot of criticism. Kyler takes his fair share as well, and they lost that game. It was going to get worse. So they kind of got a reprieve for at least a week. Maybe that jump starts their season. Maybe you see weirder things happen. It's kind of like being in a slump in baseball and you hit a 9-hopper that gets through the infield and then the guy doesn't get out for 4 straight games. But I do agree. That offense is definitely struggling without Nuke. And it's if he's not running around making a play, it's I don't know if Kyler's not seeing guys, if guys aren't getting separation. It's probably a combination of both. And then you factor in Cliff's questionable play calling sometimes. They don't look good. I mean, I know they're missing Hopkins, but they still shouldn't be struggling that much to move the ball and have some kind of consistency or continuity within their offense. And on the other hand, the Raiders don't look good at all. All we heard about all offseason was Devontae Adams this, Devontae Adams that, and the Raiders' offense is going to be unstoppable and hard to stop, and they're sitting there 0-2. So it's interesting. It's early, and this is I don't like people playing preseason, because you always get a couple of those injuries that suck that you're like, why is that guy on the field? But these guys, for lack of a better terms, are playing preseason football games right now. And it's in some of the, you see it more so in some games versus others. It's just sloppy football. And Gene hit that on the head. I mean, there was nothing impressive about the Raiders-Cardinals game. It was sloppy on both sides for 4 quarters. It wasn't a good football game. The ending was exciting, obviously, but nobody would watch that game and be like, damn, that was a well-played football game. Nobody's going to say that.
Last but not least, I want to talk about the Philadelphia Eagles for last week's. Look, they deserve their roses. Excuse me, guys. I'm a little under the weather. But the Philadelphia Eagles dominated the Minnesota Vikings Monday night. Now, a lot could be said about Kirk Cousins in primetime. I understand that. Kirk Cousins did not look good, but that defense was flying around the ball. Darius Slay locked up Justin Jefferson and put him in a phone booth. When Darius Slay was sticking Justin Jefferson, Darius Slay had more receptions than Justin Jefferson. That is absurd. The Eagles' offense looked unstoppable in the first half. They didn't score in the second half. A little concerned with that. The Eagles' offense tends to do that. They did it last year. I get it. They didn't score in the second half. But Jalen Hurts' best game as a pro. No doubt about it in my mind. 333, 2 rushing touchdowns, 1 passing touchdown. I don't put the interception on him. It's all on Kenneth Gainwell.
It's Sirianni.
Yeah, I agree. Give the ball to Miles Sanders. Let Booby run, babe. But what do you think about the Philadelphia Eagles? Cottrell, outsider's view.
Outsider's view, I mean, they look exactly, honestly, and it's not to just, toot our horns, because I think we all picked them to win the NFC East. They look exactly how I expected them to. I know I picked the Vikings on last week's show, but this Eagles team is showing me exactly why I thought they would win the NFC East, and I didn't think it'd be particularly close. I think this Eagles team, they're starting to get that continuity where they're comfortable playing with each other, even with some of the newer pieces that have been shuffled in there. I think as much hate as you guys give Jonathan Gannon, I think Monday night he did a good job of knowing when to mix in blitzes, and that made that secondary a lot more comfortable. On the offensive end, I think Jalen Hurts is really starting to find his rhythm, and because he threw some balls there, I'm like, that's the Jalen Hurts who I thought he could be. And of course he can make the plays like with his feet and whatnot, but him throwing those, I mean, he threw a few passes on the money. He had a couple to Dallas Goedert. It was one particularly to Dallas Goedert. I believe it was on 3rd down right before the end of the first half. That was on a rope. And
I actually think his best pass he made the whole night was an incompletion.
Which one?
Dallas Goedert dropped a ball that was in between.
Oh, he
coverage.
He did.
That was absurd. That throw was perfect.
Yeah. So Jalen Hurts, if Jalen Hurts can be that, I mean, I think you guys have the potential to make it out of the NFC. And that's saying a lot. But as far as the second half and the offense not scoring, I think that's more on Sirianni than what it is on like the Eagles roster as a whole. That screenplay in particular that caused the interception, I'm not throwing a screenplay in that situation because of exactly what happened. That's a high risk, low reward kind of play. Even if it's open and you get 10 yards, it's not worth the risk of giving the ball back to the Vikings in the red zone. I think Sirianni gets a little bit conservative, especially in that situation where you're up 17 points going into the second half. But I think that comes with, being in that moment more often. And I think he'll be able to fix that, and he'll trust his guys to go out there and make more plays. So I'm not worried about that portion of it yet, because you can figure that out. If the offense is moving this in the first half, they'll be able to move it in the second half as long as you make those adjustments and go through that. So I like what I see so far out of the Eagles.
Mark my words when I say this, Kittrell. Mark my words. Tooth concerns coming from an Eagles fan that watches them year in and year out. They do not, and this is for 5 years. This is through Sirianni, Doug, I don't care. They do not keep their foot on teams' necks ever. They never do it. Ever. They didn't do it in Detroit. They didn't do it versus Minnesota. And this is just, I'm telling you, that Eagles defense, the Eagles defense for years has played light years better football at home than they do on the road. They are miserable on the road. I don't know if it's fear. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the snap count or the cadence. Bro, I would not be surprised if a 30 for 30 came out and the Eagles had like some cheating device to where they knew what plays were coming. I'm joking, but like my point being is, at home, their defense is light years. Even the Super Bowl run in 2017, they were giving up 27 points on the road and 13 points at home. It's just,
I will say this season, though, at least from the Lions game to the Vikings game, it looked like Jonathan Gannon was calling a completely different defense. Like, he didn't blitz as much that Lions game, and it wasn't getting home like how it was in that Vikings game. So
agreed.
I don't know what that's about, whether it's I know the Lions don't have Jay Jettas, but you still got to mix in those blitzes, because that's when your team, that specific defense is most successful, because then those corners, they got to get the ball out fast. Darius Slay's getting interceptions, getting turnovers or whatever. So that's when that defense is most successful. So I think if he does that more, I don't think it matters whether it's home or away. But I know you've got the history of it in the past. But I think Jonathan Gannon just needs to be more consistent and call what works for your set of guys, and you'll be all right.
Bill?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot to digest. I mean, I think, I agree with Gene. I think that's the best, game Jalen Hurts has played as a Philadelphia Eagle. I don't think it's close. For a year and a half now, if there's been a Miles Sanders champion, it's been myself. He had 17 carries again Monday night. They're finally starting to find a balance and letting him run. He's healthy. He's fourth in the league in yards per carry right now. I think he's 6th or 7th in rushing yards. It helps. They're finally understanding that him being successful actually helps Jalen Hurts. It helps the RPO. They're not keying on Jalen as much that he's going to run the ball every single time. I still think he's keeping it too much, but he's getting away with it. You still see 2 or 3 a game where he keeps it when he shouldn't, and he gets tackled for like a 4 or 5 yard loss. I'll live with that. I'm fine with that. But they can't sell out to stop him every game, because if they do, Miles Sanders is going the other way for 8, 9, 15-yard runs, and that kills you. He did throw the ball a lot better. The first half, to Gene's point, nailed it spot on, so to control a little bit. They took their foot off the gas. But the most impressive thing to me, if you watch the replay of the Quez Watkins one, everybody's like heralding the throw, and it was a good throw. He didn't underthrow him at all. It was pretty much a stride, a little bit underthrown. If you watch the end zone cam of that play, what's encouraging for me, who I've been as critical of Jalen as anybody, that throw was on time. And what was super encouraging for me was he saw it right away, which he hasn't done in the past. I think it was Goddard went out into the flat, and as soon as he saw that cornerback turn his shoulders to go with him, the ball was out of his hand to Quez. He knew the read. He knew it right away. He knew he was going to be open, and the ball was gone. That is what we need from Jalen Hurts. If he can do that and continue to keep him, progressing in that manner, a lot of teams in the NFC are in trouble. I did pick them to finish second because I think they have a high ceiling. To go back to the defense, I think the difference between the Detroit and the Minnesota game was Detroit has a very good offensive line, and we had to blitz to get home and get pressure on Goff. The front four actually generated a decent amount of pressure on Monday night. Weren't necessarily knocking him down or hurrying him every snap per se, but he felt the pressure and he was getting rid of the ball. I think Gannon benefited a little bit from Darius Slay just doing Darius Slay stuff and having a great game. 2 picks, should have had a third, honestly. And to my knowledge, it's the first time we've ever seen Justin Jefferson shut down like that. So if anything's going to worry me going forward, I agree with Gene. It's still going to be Gannon. It's going to be Gannon. It's going to be that defense. I think every defense plays better at home, but to Gene's point as well, a 14-point difference home and away, an 18-point difference home and away, that's a lot. And there's no reason for it.
Right now it's a 28-point difference home and away.
Yeah. I mean,
I guess 2 games.
I know. We're 2 games in, but we knew Detroit was going to come out like gangbusters after, watching their preseason, but
they look great this past week over
they
Washington.
Did. I'm sure we're going to talk about it, but I'm encouraged with Jalen. I think the other thing was he didn't lock in on AJ this week either. They came out. They obviously had a design goal to get Devontae the ball. They got him going early, which made them take the double off AJ, and then AJ started to eat over the middle. Again, I don't know Minnesota's defense, what their plan was in the first half, just rushing for every single down and playing that shell behind it. You're not going to be able to guys that are going to be able to chase Devontae and AJ Brown around that long. And not to mention, if you do, then Hurts is just going to smoke you because you have nobody watching them. But the second half left a little bit to be desired, in my opinion. But the defense was playing so well, and the Eagles were still moving the ball decent enough that Minnesota just really couldn't get back in that game. But I would like to see them not get as conservative. If there was ever a game to let Jalen go and maybe call things a little bit more aggressive, and if he makes a mistake, it's not the end of the world. It would have been that game, in my opinion. I think we went in. I think we went too conservative in the second half, and that is an Eagles thing that's been going on forever. Gene's not wrong, but overall, Monday night, second week of the year. I mean, I honestly couldn't be happier, and I really don't think any Eagles fans could really find anything to bitch unless you're just literally being a hater at this point.
Speaking of that, I'm glad you said the word hater at the end because this is what I want to get into. All right, y'all. I'm gonna make something very clear, and we're gonna have a fun game that we want to play. You don't know this game's coming. It's gonna be something that I'm asking, but there's a good collection. Cottrell, you will be the first person to call me out on my bullshit. Am I right?
Absolutely.
Right, so let me ask you a question real quick. Do I ever say Jalen Hurts will never be a good starting quarterback in the NFL, or do I say right now he's not? Do I always plug his potential, or am I not? Like I say, he's got great character. He's got great build.
You plug the potential for sure. You just don't like him as well up until before these 2 first games. It was he's just not there yet. I don't want him to be my starting quarterback right now.
So I just want to be clear when I say that, and I want to take it a step further. Right? We talk about Tua. I see so much stuff on all platforms. Oh, like if you don't think this now, you're an idiot, or like something of that nature, bro. I need that to stop. I need it to stop. Jalen Hurts played very good the first 2 games of the NFL season. That doesn't mean he played well versus Tampa Bay last year. Players progress. They progress. I think Tua played great this past week. Great this past week versus Baltimore. That doesn't mean he's a good quarterback. Bad quarterbacks. Joe Flacco is not a great quarterback. Had a good football game versus the Browns, particularly the second half. Good quarterback play isn't consistent with being a good quarterback.
Agreed.
So let me ask you a question. We're going to play a game of Tua or, because I just want to understand it. I still think Tua is a 17 through 32 quarterback in the NFL. I don't think he's a top 7. I think he's a bottom half quarterback. I do.
I agree.
Okay, so let's just play a game, right? I'm not gonna bore you with the silly stuff, right? I'm not gonna bore you with the Rodgers, Brady, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes. I'm not gonna bore you with those guys.
Okay. What are the parameters here? Are we saying taking him right now, like to be our franchise quarterback, or 3 years from now? What are we doing?
Right now, would you take him moving forward over these players?
Okay.
Now, I'll start with a few easy ones. In my opinion, maybe I'm wrong. Tua or Derek Carr?
Derek Carr.
Tua or Matthew Stafford?
Stafford.
Tua or Russell Wilson?
Russell
Wilson.
Okay, so those are pretty simple. Let's just take it. Let's go down a step. Tua or Dak Prescott?
Dak. I get it. You guys hate the Cowboys, but
No,
if Dak played for any other team, Dak is. I think Dak is the definition of a mediocre quarterback. Like, he is 16. He's no higher. He's no lower. He is consistently in the middle, and that's better than what I think Tua is.
I'm gonna tell you this. I'm gonna go Tua because, to Cottrell's point, what he just said, we 100% have seen and know what Dak Prescott is. I think there's a shot at some point, somewhere, Tua is maybe better. I'll take Tua.
Okay. How about this? Tua Tagovailoa or Kirk Cousins? Now, before you answer this question, hold on. I don't want to bring up Kirk Cousins' stats for the last 3 years. He's the most wildly statistically underrated quarterback maybe in the history of football.
He's also been throwing to Stephon Diggs, Adam Thielen, and Jay Jettis. So
that's fair.
I want to
Kirk Cousins or Tua?
Tua's throwing to Waddle and Tyreek Hill now.
I mean, now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, but I mean, that's what we're talking about. I mean, like, this goes to Gene's point. I even wanted to say this before we started. Like, Tua had a great game, but, like, for instance, the 2 Tyreek Hill touchdowns, like, that wasn't a great read or a great throw. Like, he was literally left alone on the side of the field. Like, he had to lob the ball and not throw the ball out of bounds, and he scored. That being said, Kirk Cousins is the absolute king of empty stats. And what I mean by that is, just saw it like Monday night. When the lights are on and the lights are shining bright, or it's a playoff game, you get Kirk Cousins. During a regular season game when nobody's paying attention, you'll get Kirk Cousins that throws for 350 and 4 touchdowns. And then at the end of the year, to Gene's point, he's sitting there with 4,800 yards passing, a bunch of touchdowns, not that many interceptions. He's a regular season quarterback. I don't know what else to say.
Long story short, I'll take Kirk.
I'm still taking Kirk.
Okay, so that's funny. So we've kind of went through the mid-tier quarterbacks. Now let's get through what I call young potential.
I'm just
now
waiting.
We're looking at young. Now we're looking at young potential.
Elephant in the room one here.
Oh, it's coming. Don't worry.
I know.
Don't worry.
I know.
All right, so we'll go young potential next. Tua or Trevor Lawrence?
Trevor Lawrence.
Easy.
It's easy.
Yeah.
Tua or Justin Fields?
Jesus Christ.
Justin Fields in Chicago or Justin Fields in Miami?
You're starting a franchise tomorrow.
Justin Fields.
I'm going to say Fields. It just, there's that, like, thing in the back of your head knowing it could backfire. But again, I mean, we have no idea what he is yet because he's on the worst team in football.
Tua or Carson Wentz?
Carson Wentz.
Give me Tua.
Tua or Mac Jones?
Tua.
Is he Mac? Like, I'm going Mac.
Any other ones you want to add?
I think we named them all, didn't we?
No, we didn't name them all. I mean, Tua.
Yeah, Tua. I mean,
I'll take Tua over Baker. I'll take Tua over Jared Goff. I'll take Tua over I'll take Tua over Zach Wilson. Stop it. Tua over Davis Mills. I'll take Tua over a lot of quarterbacks that are in the bottom tier in the NFL. I have Tua ranked 20th in the NFL. I wrote this down today. But I don't think he's bad. He's a starting NFL quarterback. But let's stop pretending that Tua Tagovailoa. I got one. Tua or Jalen Hurts?
Jalen Hurts. Come on.
Jalen Hurts.
Okay, so where's Tua at that point? 21? 20?
I'm trying to do it in my head as we're going through it. He's like 22-ish for me.
My thing with Tua, and I saw a video that posted him being right-handed. Maybe that's why his motion looks so weird, and maybe that's why balls get to receivers weird. But I mean, it is what it is. You throw left-handed, you throw left-handed. I just don't see it. Like, I don't think Tua's the quarterback to go out there and go win you a football game. Granted, I know he just did it against Baltimore, and I'm not taking anything away from him. All the throws that he made, they were special. There was also a lot of yak. And I know this is just a part of football because that's what happens. And like I said, I don't want to take anything away from Tua, but I think when it matters, there's guys who can go win you a game, and there's guys who I wouldn't trust with the ball in their hands, and Tua falls in the latter category for me.
That's literally my point. Like, those two plays required blown coverages. Like, it wasn't That's what I mean. It's not like Tyreek Hill.
I mean,
like
the ball to Gesicki was good. Like there was good balls from Tua. Like I don't want to take away from him.
I don't disagree, but everybody keeps talking about the Tyreek Hill ones. They were both blown coverages. He was not covered. Like that's what I mean. Like everybody's like, oh, everybody's making it sound like he hit somebody like a 20-yard slant over the middle and threw it between three people. It's not what happened. He was on the side of the field by himself. Like all he had to do was get the ball there. Like again,
the first Tyreek Hill touchdown, the first one he threw was wildly underthrown.
Yeah,
Tyreek Hill had to stop to catch that ball against the defender. The second one he threw, there was nobody near him. They're NFL passes. I don't think Tua is bad. I think he's accurate. If we were playing an accurate contest, like let's put targets up there in the field and who can hit them, I think Tua would do better than 80 to 90% of quarterbacks in the NFL. I think he lacks arm talent, like arm strength. I think he lacks it. And I think as a whole, I think he's very I think he can learn to be aggressive, but I don't think he's aggressive with the football.
No, I mean, you have to look at like what they did. They went and got a guy who molds his game at catching, for the most part, catching the ball within 10 yards of the line of the scrimmage and taking it to the house and using his speed. He'll go deep sometimes, and then at that point, you just have to put the ball out there and hope he runs underneath it and get it there. And Waddle is a kid who has that same type of game. He's extremely fast. He can run over the middle. He can run every route on the tree. And you have to give Miami credit for that. But they gave him two guys that are going to play to his strengths, which, to your point, is throwing the ball short, throwing it over the middle. And he can put the ball in tight windows in that area. And that's why they're going to succeed. I mean, honestly, you look at both of them. They're both in the top 5 in every freaking category in the league through 2 weeks. And that's what you're going to see until somebody can stop it.
Talk about top 5. We're going to talk about top 5. Talk about Trevor Lawrence being top 5 in QBR.
Yeah.
All right, but let's preview this week's games.
When are we doing another reaction?
We'll do it after the preview before I pick them.
Got it.
First game on the docket. Why don't we start with the game we just talked about? Miami-Buffalo. We just talked about Tua. Buffalo goes in there. The game's in Miami. I think it's going to be a good game. I think Miami's defense can be a defense that slows down Buffalo. I think Miami's offense with that speed can be an offense that keeps up with Buffalo's offense. I think this is a good football game. I think 6.5 is a little wild. I'm not going to lie to you. I know Buffaloes look like world beaters. I know they look like the best team in the NFL, but playing at a division rival, but I do think that Miami is in for a little bit of a letdown after that huge comeback. I got Buffalo in this one. I got them winning a rather close game. I'll go 27-20.
I like Buffalo as well. I think Buffalo is in a situation where you talked about it already, Gene. Yes, they do look like the best team in football right now, but you also got to think their last game, their starters. I mean, they got to sit for a whole quarter, and Miami was literally, balls to the wall for 60 minutes because they were in that battle with the Ravens. I think this is going to be a situation where I think Buffalo starts strong, but unlike the Ravens, I don't think they're going to let up. And just because that Buffalo team, they don't have that in them. McDermott doesn't coach timid or anything like that. I think this will be a higher scoring game, but I think Buffalo wins comfy. I think they win 10 plus points. I could see it being 35-24, something along the lines of that. But I think Buffalo wins, and they win it pretty convincingly.
I'll do you one better. I don't think it's going to be a close game. I think Buffalo has shown so far through 2 weeks that they're the best team in football right now, and they're playing that way. I do agree with you. I think Miami will be able to limit some things that Buffalo does for a little bit. I think over the course of 60 minutes, Buffalo is going to make plays. They're going to score. Gabriel Davis looks like he's on track to play, so they're going to get him back. He practiced today. They're going to have their dual-headed attack on the outside. On top of that, I think the thing that neither one of you mentioned, which I'm going to mention, is Buffalo is going to have a team that can get pressure on Tua, make him throw the ball before he wants to. That is one thing that he struggles with mightily. And Buffalo is a great secondary. Their defense is definitely better than Miami's defense. I think they slow Miami down enough. I think Buffalo wins 34-20. And I think it's a good football game. I I personally don't think Buffalo's in any danger of ever losing. I don't think it comes down to the wire.
Buffalo's defensive line is filled with talent. You got Ed Oliver, Gregory Rousseau, and Von Miller. That's just a lot of destruction.
A lot of beef.
Athletic beef. Buffalo's the best team in football right now, boys. I don't know. Predict them to win the Super Bowl. I don't know who that was, but we'll find out. Maybe they will. Maybe I'll go back to back. All right, next game on the docket: Packers at Buccaneers. I am picking this game for my pick'em, so I will skip.
Bill, you want to go first?
Yeah, so it's going to be this heralded matchup of Brady versus Rodgers, probably for the last time in the regular season. And they're going to be throwing the ball to Mio and Cottrell. Mike Evans suspended, got upheld. Chris Godwin is out. Julio's practicing. We'll see. And Green Bay has its cast of unknowns. It doesn't look like Lazard's going to play. So it's going to be interesting. You have these two, Hall of Fame legends and a bunch of practice squad wide receivers. For me, I think it's going to be a lower scoring game now with all these guys out wide out. And I think I'll trust Tampa Bay's defense over Green Bay's right now. They're just playing better. Tampa Bay's at home. I think Tom Brady makes enough plays to get it done. I think this is probably an overly ugly game, like 20-13, maybe something like that. And I'll go with Tampa Bay.
I am going to agree with you there. I think Tampa Bay does win this football game. I do think that Tom Brady has made himself more comfortable with his receiving cast than Aaron Rodgers has made himself with that Packers team. Yes, of course, like Mike Evans, Godwin, all those guys, but they brought in Brashad Perriman. He's felt basically at home with Perriman. I think Julio will play. We saw that game against Dallas. That was their first time being on the field together, and they already had that connection. So I think Tom Brady will be fine offensively. And then I think that Buccaneers defense, if you can get after Aaron Rodgers, make him uncomfortable, it seems like the only receiver that he actually has a connection with is Sammy Watkins. But if you take Sammy Watkins away, that Packers team has nothing, and they're going to be relying on all their young guys to go out there and make plays against one of the best teams in the NFC. So I like the Packers in this one. I don't necessarily think it's going to be a lower scoring game. I think both these Hall of Fame quarterbacks are going to score their points. I'll go 31-24 Bucks.
Okay. Last game on the docket, we got Rams-Cardinals. They're playing at Arizona. It's a division game. Last time these two teams played was in the playoffs last year, and LA boat raced them.
Yep.
Arizona coming off an emotional high. I think the Rams win this game, and I think they win it pretty handily. The 3.5 doesn't scare me at all. I like the Rams in this one. I know that's a square play. I know the Rams have been a very popular pick amongst a lot of the public this week, but I love the Rams this week. I'm not picking it as one of my games because I think it's a square play. But with that being said, I just don't see how. I think Jalen Ramsey locks up Hollywood Brown. I don't think there's much receiving weapons on Arizona. I feel like it's not a very good matchup for Arizona right now. I'll take the Rams by a lot, 38-20.
The only thing that kind of scares me about this matchup is last year, I didn't think that the Cardinals had a team that was anywhere close as good what the Rams were, and they went into SoFi and they beat them. So I understand, teams get up for divisional matchups, things like that. You have a familiarity. You got, what they like to run, what they like to run in certain situations, things like that. With that said, I'm still picking the Rams, but I'm not quite as confident as you are, Gene. Normally I would be, and I think on paper you should be, but the divisional matchup, the Cardinals being at home, I don't know what it is about these two playing each other and all that, but I think this is going to be a tight one. Give me 27-24 walk-off field goal from Matt Gay.
Okay.
I'm going to make it a sweep. I'm going to go with the Rams as well. I think for about 3 quarters last week against Atlanta, you saw the Rams that we expected to see in week 1 against Buffalo. Stafford was spreading the ball around, got Allen Robinson, involved, still hitting Cooper Kupp when he had to. Cam Akers reappeared, and they actually gave him some run and gave him some touches. Him and Darrell Henderson ran the ball well. Defense is still lacking a little bit, compared to what it was and what we're used to seeing. The only thing that worries me is what I said when we talked about the Arizona game. Does that game wake them up a little bit and get them going? I'm going to take my hedges and hedge my bet and say no. And I think the Rams look better this week than they did last week. I'll take the Rams winning 31, Arizona 27.
All right, let's get into overreactions. I disagree with what you just said. I just think the Rams are a way better team than Arizona.
I agree.
So give me some overreactions, brother.
All right. It's funny because some of these have just come up in conversation, which is kind of funny. Number 1 on the list, Jacksonville's the favorite to win the AFC South.
Not an overreaction.
I think it's an overreaction, but I think the Jags are the favorite to not lose the AFC South. I don't think anyone has shown that they can win it. I think I just trust the Jags the most not to lose it, if that makes sense.
I'm gonna side with Gino on this one. I don't think it's an overreaction.
Dougie P, man. Dougie
P.
What a difference a coach makes.
It's gonna lead into my second one. We're gonna stay in the division right there. Frank Reich could be the first coach to get fired.
That's not an overreaction.
Not an overreaction.
Agreed. 49ers have a better chance of going further with Jimmy G playing now that Trey Lance got hurt, unfortunately.
Overreaction. Jimmy G didn't even look good.
I'll say overreaction just because I think that team will go as far as it won't be the quarterback that takes them to wherever they go. So I'll say overreaction.
I actually agree overreaction for literally the reason Cottrell said. I don't think he loses them anything. I just don't think he puts them over the top to beat a Tampa Bay or maybe even the Eagles, someone like that at the end. I don't think he's the deciding factor. Speaking of the Eagles, Jalen Hurts will receive significant MVP votes at the end of the year.
Overreaction.
I don't think it's overreaction. I think the fact that he is a dual threat. Yo, if you haven't looked at their schedule, if you think that's an overreaction, their schedule is light, like light, LITE, like light.
No, I get that. I think part of the problem is that I don't know if I've been more of a Jalen fan than both of you guys. I will say that, but I don't know if I trust Jalen's arm in the winter as much as guys like Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, those
he didn't say win MVP.
Justin Herbert.
I think he finishes 5th. That's thought process.
I mean, significant votes. I think you'd have to be higher than 5th.
5th is where I'd have him. So call it what you want to call it.
Okay, fair enough.
I side with Gene on that. And, if you would ask me that in the offseason, I don't think I would have had the same answer, but here we are. The AFC is deeper than the NFC this year.
Why would that be an overreaction?
It depends.
The AFC is way better than the NFC.
The top end is better. I think the AFC North is full of frauds. The AFC South is...
Yeah, what are we talking about right now?
AFC South is what they are. The Denver Broncos have shown me that they, as long as Nathaniel Hackett's at the helm, I don't trust them. The Raiders.
You have the Bills, Chiefs, and Chargers.
I agree.
They're better than any team in the NFC. It's not close.
The top 3 I agree with, but deeper, I think if you put
that's
yes, they have one. If they have 1, 2, 3, that's fine.
Miami, Baltimore, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh. What do you mean? No. It's way deeper in the AFC.
I disagree.
Okay. I think it's really close. Let's see what's next. Bengals are in real danger of not making the playoffs.
Well, of course, they're 0-2. Only 11% of teams that start 0-2 make the playoffs.
One guy had them not make the playoffs.
Well, I still think the Bengals make the playoffs. I think they're one of those 11%. I think they get it right this week versus the Jets. I think the division's weak. I think they roll versus I think they have Baltimore's number. I think they roll versus the Brownies. Yeah, I got Cincinnati, I think, still makes the playoffs. I think it's a little bit of an overreaction. But yes, they're in danger. Like, that's not an overreaction to say they're in danger.
I don't think it's an overreaction. I'm not going to say I saw it coming just like this because I expected them to beat the Cowboys. But I said it during our pre-show, our preview of the NFL that I thought the Bengals overachieved last year. And I think part of that is coming to fruition right now. I think they will right the ship. Their offense is going to look better. You're not going to have Joe Burrow throw, 3-4 interceptions and lose to Cooper Rush, things like that. But I don't like what I see so far from the Bengals.
It's fair.
Let's see. Two left. Amon-Ra St. Brown will finish the season as a top 10 wide receiver.
Facts. There's no overreaction there. That man is way better than I gave him credit for. Amon-Ra St. Brown, he's legit. That guy is legit. No, that's facts.
He is legit. He's better than I would say. I want to give him his respect. There's some receivers who haven't turned it on yet. I don't think he finishes top 10, but I think he's going to be very close to it. 12 to 15 range.
Bro, he's legit.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
And last one. Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill are the best wide receiver duo in the league.
For what Miami's doing, the answer is yes. The offense that they're running, that Mike McDaniel's running, the answer is yes. Jalen Waddle is so good. I think I said this before the season started. I'll double down on it. Jalen Waddle finishes better than Tyreek Hill this year. Right now, they're like almost identical.
They're
like
close.
Hill's got 40 more yards. Jalen's got one more touchdown. They're almost identical. By the end of the season, I think Jalen Waddle will be the number one receiver over there, in my opinion.
I don't disagree with you. And like I said, I remember in the draft last year, I think Coachella agreed as well. I still thought Waddle was the best one to have out of all those receivers. But do you think so? You think they're the best duo?
Yes.
I'll say yes, but I love Keenan Allen and Mike Williams because they give you two different things. Essentially, Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle can give you.
I don't think they're second.
Who do you have second?
I don't think they're third or fourth.
I love that connection. You got your possession receiver, then you got your guy that goes and gets the ball. Mike Williams, that game against the Chargers, I got a whole new respect for Mike Williams.
I don't think they're top five.
What's your top five real quick? You obviously went through it real quick.
So I would take Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. I would take yeah. Obviously, we're doing this one healthy, right? It's not all right. So I would take Jamar Chase and T. Higgins.
I'm not. I thought about that, but I like.
You wouldn't?
I wouldn't. Not over Keenan and Mike.
I think that's the age-old question because Jamar I think is better than both. I would take Jamar before Waddle.
Absolutely.
And Hill, but I'm taking both of them before T. Higgins.
I feel like that there's a lot of wide receiver combos in the NFL that are. Keenan and Mike are good. They're fifth, sixth, right around that area. I just think there's multiple ones that you can easily compare with them. So, like, let me give you an example of what I mean, right? So, would you guys scoff at the fact that Hunter Renfrow had 113 receptions last year and Devontae Adams is clearly better than both of them, right? So, like, is the distance between Devontae Adams and either one of those receivers greater or less than the distance between the second receiver and Hunter Renfrow?
No, I 100% agree with you, and it's literally what we just did with Cincinnati and Miami. I think Waddle and Hill are closer to Chase than Higgins is to Waddle or Hill.
You want me to give you even a bolder one? I take AJ Brown, Devontae Smith over both of them.
Over both of who?
Over Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. I would. I think AJ Brown's better than both of them, and I think Slim Reaper's going to get better and better as the year goes on.
I don't
think
know.
it's easy to say that now with AJ Brown, but I mean,
listen. But here's the thing, though. I mean, in Gene's defense, and I'm not saying I would 100% pick it, but I think it's a lot closer than a lot of non-Philadelphia people would like to admit. We don't know what AJ Brown really is. He's played with Ryan Tannehill his whole goddamn career. Like, man. I think AJ Brown's ceiling is a lot higher than people would like to give him credit for.
All right, so let's get into pick 'em. Shall, you got to start us off, bro. You're like 1-5 on the year, bro. You got to start us off.
It's not that bad, but it's pretty bad.
I'm kidding, bro. I'm kidding.
No, I mean, it's bad. I suck right now. I should have been 2-1 last week. Goddamn Cleveland. Thanks, Cottrell.
Sorry. Never pick us again. I blame you.
I'm going to smash that elf when I say it. All right, so this week, we kind of already talked about it. I'm going Buffalo at Miami. Didn't want to preview the game. Gene kind of said something earlier that rings true for me for this game. The -5.5 doesn't scare me. It just doesn't. I just think Buffalo is the better offensive team and the better defensive team. I don't think they're going to be rattled. I think they're a team they look like a team on a mission. That's what they look like right now. Come up short the last 2 years. They're not messing around with people this year. I think they go into Miami and I think they win. Second team, just briefly talked about them. I'm going Kansas City -6.5 at Indy. Indy is not right. Say what you want, point the finger wherever you want. I know Shaquille Leonard hasn't played yet. Indy, Jonathan Taylor is not getting off like he did last year. Pittman is still looking like he's not going to play. Matt Ryan has not been good. They are all out of sorts all over the place. I will take Kansas City inside track meet. I think they cover the touchdown. And the last pick I'm going to take Detroit at Minnesota -5.5. I like Detroit. I actually want Detroit to win the game. So if I lose this pick, I won't be mad. But I think Minnesota coming off that game, how poorly they looked, how poorly they played, going back home. Gene brought this up earlier as well. Minnesota's another one of those teams that plays drastically different when they're away versus when they do home. They play very well at Minnesota. I think Chase and Thielen and Dalvin Cook and all them get back on track. I think Minnesota wins by a touchdown, so they'll cover by a point.
You mean Jefferson?
Sorry, what I say?
Chase.
Yeah, wrong whatever. LSU guy.
Both studs. Forgive me.
Fair.
All right, so can I warn the listeners real quick? I'm going to warn the listeners. I looked into that Indy Kansas City game. Stay away from it. Don't bet it. Don't touch it. Stay away from it. That game has backdoor cover, fix, all written all over it. There's no reason that spread should be 5.5. It opened up at 6 and it's down to 5.5, and 93% of the money is on Kansas City. Don't touch the game. Stay away from the game. Don't bet it. I'm telling you, something weird's going to happen in that game. I'm not touching it because it makes no sense.
Pick Kansas City.
Don't touch it.
With that being said, my first pick is Kansas City -5.5 at Indy.
Love you, Trell.
You say that all you want. Backdoor cover, all that. Look, I look at it like this. Everything I've seen so far, Indianapolis doesn't look like an NFL football team. The problem is Matt Ryan, but it was Matt Ryan, it was Carson Wentz. Where's the buck going to stop when it comes to the quarterback play?
You're right.
I think you got to start looking at the head coach, and even to that point, the defense hasn't looked good. I thought this Indianapolis Colts defense was going to be a top 5 defense in the NFL, and regardless of what you were getting out of Matt Ryan, the defense was going to keep you in games because they're going to be forcing turnovers and getting teams off the field quick. That hasn't been the case, and the defense hasn't figured it out yet. Kansas City Chiefs have. They showed you in the second half against the Chargers what they can do, and they showed you in that first game, what that offense can do. So I like the Chiefs in this one. Everything from a football standpoint says the Chiefs are going to go into Indy and they're going to win this game by 14 plus easy. So I'll roll with the Chiefs -5.5. Second game I like, the Raiders coming off of a horrible home loss, -1.5. They're going to Tennessee. I think Tennessee is in a situation where if I'm Ryan Tannehill, I would lose a lot of confidence. Malik Willis came. Well, first off, you didn't score that many points against the Buffalo Bills. I get it. The Bills look like the best team in football, but you have your fan base clamoring for Malik Willis to get more playing time, things like that. So I just think the Titans are in a rough spot right now, and the Raiders are going to be pissed off from what happened last week. I think they go into Tennessee and they get them a win. And then the last game. This game, honestly, to me, makes no sense on paper. Divisional game. The Philadelphia Eagles are going to the Washington Commanders. Commanders are +6.5. I think they cover that spread, but they don't win the game. I think the Eagles win by 4 points. It may even be a backdoor cover, but I think Carson Wentz is going to go into this game with a chip on his shoulder, obviously. And that Commanders team, they're going to rally behind him, but ultimately they're going to lose the game. But I think they can keep it within 6.5 points.
I like the green screen for the picking the Eagles.
I picked the Commanders to cover the 6.5.
Okay,
but the Eagles won the game.
I think Dante had it right. I'm just kidding. So that Eagles Redskins game is going to go over, but I won't. That's not one of my picks. I'll give you a couple freebies. Jonathan Taylor take his over in rushing yards. They're going to take that. The Indianapolis Colts keep that game close. Don't be surprised if they win it. Just mark that down. I got 3 picks this week, and outside of the ones I just gave you. We're going to start it off with Baker Mayfield. I'll take Baker. I thought you were going the other way here. I'm going to take Baker Mayfield and the Carolina Panthers +3 over New Orleans at home in Carolina. I think that Carolina's defense is going to turn over Jameis Winston 4 times. 4. Mark it. Interceptions, pick sixes. I think the Carolina Panthers win the football game. I think they get off the schneid and they get a W. That's my first one. Second game this week. I'm against both of you guys. I didn't pick it because I feel very strongly about it. I wanted to release it to the listeners. Give me the Packers +1.5 over the Buccaneers to go into Tampa Bay's going to be throwing the ball to who? A hurt Julio, no Chris Godwin, suspended Mike Evans. No, Packers defense going to roll in that one. I like the Packers. I like them big. I think that game might be 35-10. I think the Packers win. Take the alternate line of Packers -13.5. And I'll give you one more strong one. Love this game. Thursday Night Football. Give me the Browns -4.5 to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think that Browns defense is going to be pissed. I think that Browns defense is going to attack. And the last time the Browns had a very meaningful game against the Pittsburgh Steelers, they beat the shit out of them. I think the Browns win this football game, and I think they win it clearly. I don't think it's close. I don't think Jacoby Brissett has much to do with it. I think Thursday night's going to be a snooze fest. Nick Chubb running the ball, Kareem Hunt running the ball. Give me the Browns. I'll take the Browns, Packers, Panthers.
I love that. I love that pick, Gene. Not just because you picked the Browns. I was really thinking about doing it. The Steelers have only scored 2 touchdowns on offense so far this season, and we know what just happened with the Browns debacle last week. They called that players only meeting, and it's the Thursday night game in Cleveland. So I do think that everything you said is perfect. I just couldn't bring myself to do it because I'm like, I'm not doing it to myself. I'm not doing it to myself.
I love all 3 of my picks this week. I think all 3 of them sweep the board. I really feel confident in my back two. The Panthers one's tough. I almost picked the over-under in the Eagles-Washington game because I feel like that game's going to be very, very high scoring. But I like the Panthers defense this week. I think Baker will score. I think playing in Carolina, a division game, I think they'll score. But I just really think Jameis Winston has a really rough game this week at Carolina. So I'll take Carolina. All right, so let's get into Mount Rushmores. Wrap up the show with 2 solid Mount Rushmores. We starting off with DC or we starting off with St. Louis? We got DC versus St. Louis. I believe we're starting with the DC Mount Rushmore.
Yep, DC.
All right, so here we go. We got Ovi, Alex Ovechkin, Sugar Ray Leonard, Mia Hamm, and Darryl Green. this Mount Rushmore is fun, right? So Ovi is, if he's not, he's probably the second best goal scorer of all time.
When he retires, I mean, it's we'll see where he finishes up, but he's on pace to beat Gretzky's record. So as long as he can stay healthy in the next 2 years, and I will tell you that is a monumental feat. You've heard us talk how we talk about Gretzky on this show, and I will tell you, you asked anybody 10 years ago, even when he was in the league already, if anybody was ever going to score more goals than Wayne Gretzky, and everybody would have looked at you and told you were crazy. And Ovi's on pace to do it. That is a testament to what he is. He's a machine. When it's all said and done, he's probably the second best hockey player ever. When he retires, that's probably where he's going to be. You got Connor and people like that coming, and you got to see how Crosby finishes up. But you're talking, however you want to slice it, you're talking about a top 5 hockey player ever. That's how good Ovi is.
I got Sugar Ray Leonard, and I just kind of want to talk about him for a second. You talking about a champion in 5 different boxing weight classes. 5. My man won championship at welterweight, light middleweight, super middleweight, and light heavyweight. To win the light heavyweight championship, starting your career as a welterweight is absurd. Sugar Ray Leonard was special. Boxed up all the way up to 1997, which is absurd. He shouldn't have been fighting that long. His best days were in the early 80s. He was just unbelievable. He was tough to hit, moved well. Sugar Ray. Next one on the list is Mia Hamm. All right, so I'm 36. Women's sports in the 1990s were just not a thing. They weren't good. There was no WNBA. There was just not much. Then there was this girl, this woman that popped up on the scene, winning United States gold medal, best player, the girl that every little girl wanted to be when they were playing soccer was Mia Hamm. Mia Hamm was the female in the Gatorade commercials before anybody else was there. Mia Hamm is a trailblazer for women's sports.
I mean, to put it in perspective, she started her career in North Carolina. If you don't know, is an absolute powerhouse for soccer. They won 4 championships when she was there. They didn't lose once. They won all 4. She then went and played for the national team, won 2 World Cups. She was on the team. Everybody has seen the clip. I don't care how old you are. Everybody's seen the clip when we beat China in the finals when Brady Chastain hit the penalty kick and ripped her shirt off. Mia Hamm was on that team. She was one of the first very marketable female athletes in the world. And it just happened to be, she had the whole package. She was very quiet, but she was very marketable. She was very easy to sell things. But she was on Wheaties. She did it all. G mentioned Gatorade, and she just happened to be the best soccer player on the planet at the time. And she played for us. So she's a legend. She was Trailblazer is the right word for her. Michelle Akers was before, who was great. But that the team just hadn't caught on. That Mia Hamm and Brady Chastain and Christine Lilly and Brianna Scurry, that whole crew, that World Cup team is what propelled the women's national team into prominence, and they still are there now. I mean, it's still more popular than the men's team. She's incredible. I mean, I grew up watching her, so I mean, I'm very familiar with her. Can't really say enough good things about her.
Control, any comments?
Yeah, I mean, so far, I like DC's Mount Rushmore. You guys talk about Mia Hamm. Obviously, what she was for not just soccer, but for women's sports figures in general as a whole. Obviously, it's tough to put anybody against her in that class, because of how marketable she was, especially at that time. And I give her a lot of credit because I know for a fact we got like however many more Mount Rushmores, there will not be one U.S. men's soccer team player that make these lists. So I'll give me all the credit in the world there. You talked about Sugar. I mean, he was special. I'm not even a big boxing guy, but the prominent ones you just have to know. And whether it be Fight Night or Knockout Kings, Sugar was one of your go-to guys. Ovi, we know how special he is. I think the one thing that's special about Ovi is obviously anybody who watched the show, they know I'm not huge into hockey, but Ovi is more my era. And you got Crosby and you got Ovi. Of course, McDavid is coming up and he's going to be that next generation. But this was one of the guys, like if I'm playing, NHL 11 or NHL 10, I want to be the Capitals because they got Ovi and I can go play with TJ Oshie because I know if it gets to a situation and I'm in a shootout, he's going to be clutch for me. So I'm liking this DC Mount Rushmore so far.
The last one is Darryl Green. Darryl Green, he's on everybody's top 10 cornerback list. The guy should be top 5 on most people's list.
It's top 5.
I get it. Today's modern day cornerback, you're gonna a lot of the Jalen Ramseys, Patrick Petersons, and Richard Shermans of the world that are gonna. But his longevity at the position was so good. He was a staple to that cornerback position. He's up there with he was second to Deion Sanders his whole career, and then Champ Bailey came along. So he was second to Deion Sanders his whole career, but absolute stud. And the one thing he did that Deion didn't do was tackle.
He tackled, and but we're leaving out the part with the other thing that Deion was very good at. Darryl Green was a great punt returner as well. Honestly, he's one of those guys you kind of said it, for being an all-time absolute stone cold lead pipe lock at his position. He doesn't get the pub that other people do, and I never understood that. I obviously grew up watching him. He played when I was just getting into football. He was still playing for Washington, and he was great. And he's one of those guys, like you said, you say cornerbacks, you get the Champ Baileys, you get Deion's. His name never comes up in that first group, and he's better than half the people that people mention. And he was quiet. He was a guy who just went about his business, didn't talk trash. If you ever watch any of them, he didn't spike the ball. He was old school. Like he would score and walk over and hand the ball to the referee. Just a great football player through and through. And being a division rival, I mean, we got to watch him, twice a year, and he usually did something good against us because back then we sucked. So, it was he's a legend. I mean, that's the word that fits him. I just don't understand why he doesn't get the
flashy
that he should.
Wasn't flashy.
Yeah, I get it.
Right. Any comments on Darryl Green before we unveil St. Louis, Cottrell?
Yeah, I mean, I think you guys were being very generous saying top 5. Top 10, though, for sure. He stamped in there for me. And yes, you do talk about he doesn't fit the mold of your traditional corners now. But I mean, for what he was back then, that's just not how corners were. And you talk about him being able to tackle. Yes, I do like that when my corners are able to tackle, but you're not giving these corners $100 million to tackle. You're giving them the money to cover. So he was great at coverage too.
When he played.
Oh yeah, I know that. But I'm just saying, if my corners are great at covering, if they're good at tackling, that's a bonus. But if they're not, as long as they cover and they don't have to make tackles, I'm good to go there. But just getting back to Darryl Green, though, yeah, special talent, of course. I think he was four-time first-team All-Pro. So that just shows you when he was in the league and he was in his prime, there weren't many people better. Like you said, Deion, and then he was the next man up. So definitely deserving to be on here. He was staple for that Redskins team.
Okay, so let's get into St. Louis. The St. Lunatics, and Nelly will introduce them. All right, Nelly, take it away. I'm kidding. We got Stan Musial, Brett Hull, Bob Gibson, and Albert Pujols. Got a lot of baseball players on this one. Mixed with Brett Hull. Stan the Man. Start us off, Bill. He's about as old as you.
It's not funny. Just because Cottrell didn't know who he was.
I'm sorry, you played BC.
No, you're talking about what's it? That's not what we're talking about. So listen, this is I'm going to make this real easy on Stan Musial because it's how good of a hitter he was. He was always compared to Ted Williams. That's how good of a hitter he was. You know, people will call him the National League Ted Williams, but I'm going to make it even simpler for you. Before Ted Williams died, he was doing an interview, and Ted Williams and Stan Musial were very close. If you know anything about Ted Williams after he retired and, you know, when he was at the All-Star games, all that stuff, the guy just loved to talk about hitting a baseball. You know, that's all he ever wanted to talk about. And a reporter got him aside for a couple of minutes. Got a couple of minutes alone with him and asked him about his relationship with Stan Musial, and he just started gushing about him. And the guy's like, you know, pretty much boiled down to it. He's like, well, you know, he's like, in your opinion, he goes, you know, was Stan Musial as good a hitter as you were? And Ted Williams' answer was, he absolutely was. So you take the guy who is universally looked at as the best hitter to ever play baseball, and his praise for Stan Musial is that Stan Musial was just as good as him. That's all you need to know.
We just talked about Joe DiMaggio and Lou Gehrig a couple weeks ago. Just want to make something very clear. This man finished his career with a .330 batting average and 475 home runs. That's right up there with Gehrig for batting average, and that's right up there with DiMaggio for home runs. I think Stan Musial was listed right with those guys. I think it's funny that we have this Mount Rushmore back to back, because the way Darrell Green was to Deion Sanders as far as corners was, Stan Musial was to Ted Williams. Brett Hull is probably the weakest hockey player we'll have on this list. Great player. But as far as like I think he's top 15, top 20. I think he was really great during his generation. But I think St. Louis is a little light, if I'm being honest, as far as great athletes.
I don't think they're light. I just think it's, you know, we talked about other like baseball players we could have put on. They've never had a football team for like, you know, forever. And they don't have a basketball team. So we're kind of starting from a shallower pool of people as it is. And St. Louis is always has been and always will be a baseball town. We've talked about that on the show before, how they treat their baseball players. Brett Hull was great. You know, to your point, he's not a top 10 or 15 player of all time, but he was great. And he did benefit from, I think, playing in St. Louis for most of his career. He was the guy there. Everybody knows who his father is. His father was a great player in his own right. And, you know, he did win a cup there though. So, you know, it's, he's an accomplished player. He's one of the best American-born players ever. He's the weakest person on this mountain, but you know, you're also talking about three guys ahead of him that are all top, probably 25 players ever in the history of the game. So, you know, that says something as well.
You got Bob Gibson, who had one of the greatest statistical seasons from a pitching standpoint of all time.
Yeah, so Bob Evans.
Bob Evans. Yo, clip that.
I'm not hungry. Bob Gibson, one of the best pitchers to ever play the game. Played well into his 40s, and it didn't. You know, he was. You know, wasn't in Major League Baseball at the beginning of his career because they didn't allow African American players. And he was one of the meanest son of a bitches to ever step foot on that mound. Bob Gibson was notorious. If you showed him up or anything, you know, when you came up for your next at bat, he would step off the rubber and tell you he was going to hit you, and he would throw the ball at your head. He didn't care. That's part of what made him great. And the crazy thing is, as crazy as he was on the mound and as you know, as intense of a competitor he was, anybody that ever knew him said he was one of the most soft-spoken, gentle guys off the field. He was just, when he stepped between the lines, that, you know, Gino know this saying, but that plate was his. And if you got anywhere, leaned over it, got in front of it or anything, he was going to brush you off of it. And he just had dirty stuff. I wish he was in the majors his whole career. His numbers would have been even higher. But he's a top 15 pitcher ever, if not even probably a little higher than that, maybe top 10.
Arguably the greatest statistical season ever from a pitcher. I want to read you his 1968 stats just because I these are truly special. He was 22-9, and how you lose 9 games in a season with a 1.12 ERA is absolutely absurd. 22 wins and 13 of them were shutouts. Complete game shutouts.
Yep.
And to lose 9 games with a 1.12 ERA is stupid. Just to be clear.
I'll do you one better. I'd have to check on this, but I'm not sure. I also believe he had that year before they raised the mound back up. So it was the smaller mound. I'll have to Google that when we're talking about something else. But I think that's even the case. That's why that season's talked about so much. To give you a comparable for people who watch baseball now today, take Jacob deGrom's season when he won the Cy Young with like 12 losses, lower his ERA a half a run, and multiply his complete games that year by 4, and that's what Bob Gibson did one year. That's how dominant he was.
Dominant's just such an understatement for that year. And then the last one we got is Albert Pujols. Albert could be a lot higher on this list, in my opinion, if he played his whole career with St. Louis. I think St. Louis really let a gem get away. I think he should have re-signed there. I think the LA days really hurt him as far as his overall greatness. Albert Pujols is going to hit 700 home runs. I mean, he's
hopefully
Albert Pujols. Yeah, hopefully.
3 away.
2.
2. He's 698.
He's 698.
He's 2 more. But Albert Pujols is a great, and you can't mention great St. Louis baseball players without mentioning Albert Pujols. Cottrell?
I mean, I think Albert Pujols is, of my generation, probably the best hitter of my generation. Like during his prime, they call him the machine for a reason. He's got one of the best SportsCenter commercials. Him in the office. But what Albert Pujols was doing was special. When you have a guy that can hit for average and hit 40 plus home runs in a season, that's special. And I'm rooting for him to get to 700. You know, obviously that's the elite of the elite club, but it's crazy to see like right now, because he was not on pace to even really be close to this. He really came on the past like 3 weeks of the season with the home runs, but during the peak of his career, he was special. You know, two World Series with the Cardinals, and what he did at the plate, winning MVP awards, all of that. Gene, you're 100% right. They definitely let a gem get away, but I mean, in his situation, I understand moving over to the American League when you could be a DH for games, you know, a lot of the season. So now, of course, it's different, but I think that's why he is as close as he is to 700. I will say that.
Let's vote. We gotta move on. Let's vote.
This one is relatively easy for me. I'm going with St. Louis.
Control?
I'm also going with St. Louis.
I'll be the odd man. I'm going Washington. I'll go DC. But St. Louis moves on, and that's okay. I think the greatness on that list and that DC list is just – I think Ovi is better than Brett Hull. I get it. I don't want to break it down any further. You guys already went with St. Louis. Well, DC would have been my vote. But let's move on to You Got to Be Kidding Me. Control, do you have one? I
do. I actually got 2. I'll go quick. My first one isn't too serious, so I'll get that one out the way. My first one is the New York Yankees fan who basically gave away Aaron Judge's 60th home run ball. I love the gesture, you know, not wanting money. I'm not saying you should have got money for it, things like that. He got a couple autographed baseballs and a baseball bat. Look, when you got that kind of leverage, that ball's probably going to the Hall of Fame. When you got that kind of leverage and the New York Yankees are having that kind of season, I would have said, hey, can you guys hook me up with some sort of playoff ticket package where I can at least see my team in the playoffs? Something like that. The autograph ball is nice. Autograph bat, that's nice. You sold yourself short, kid. And so for that,
Control, I want to comment on that with 10 seconds. I disagree completely. I think the New York Yankees hearing everything that is coming out, like how he basically sold himself short by doing that. I think the New York Yankees as an organization will do something incredible for him because of the way he did that. I'm almost sure of it.
I think it's so damn refreshing that when I read the story this morning, I was impressed, to be honest.
Look, like I said, I'm not saying you try to get $100,000 or anything like that, but the Yankees are going to make a push for a World Series championship, and I'd at least want to be in the stadium for that. Could you hook me up with something? I don't just want the autographed balls. I get that on my own if I really wanted to. And then the other one I had a little bit more serious. One of the top players in the country going into college was Amani Bates.
Damn it.
Amani Bates was a situation where he was the number one recruit in his class. He reclassified, went to Memphis. We've talked about him on the show before, things like that. He decided to have a concealed weapon in his car, was pulled over with it. Now, the problem is that in Michigan, you can't conceal a weapon unless you are 21 years old. Amani Bates is 18 years old. This is my problem with Amani Bates going back home. I understand it didn't work out in Memphis, but when you go back to he transferred to Eastern Michigan. When you go back home and you have those, like when you have influences around you and you feel like you have to carry a weapon in your car when you're not legally able to, that's just not good. And I mean, we'll see how it all plays out, but this kid might have just ruined part of his life. Not saying that he gets locked away for an extensive amount of time, but who knows what happens with his eligibility? Who knows what happens with Eastern Michigan if they still want him to play for their program? This is just a huge step backwards for a kid who had all the potential in the world just 2 years ago. So for me this week, Amani Bates.
Come on, you gotta be kidding me.
Bill, was that yours?
Yeah, so this week my you gotta be kidding me is going to be Cottrell stealing my you gotta be kidding me right before I went. But no, I mean it's a serious thing. I read the statement from his lawyer saying literally like when everything comes out, like it's going to be a different viewpoint. Granted, it's kind of lip service. That's what they all say. I think there might be a little bit more to this story, but regardless, Cottrell hit it spot on. You got to make better decisions and put yourself in better situations. So I will take this time because I got a couple texts because I know we didn't go over it on the show real quick. I still believe the U.S. is going to win the President's Cup, which is this weekend, which is kind of like the minor version of Ryder Cup. They just play different golfers. I know the U.S. team is missing big guys like, DeChambeau and Koepka and DJ. They're playing at Quail Hollow down in North Carolina. I think it's a lot closer than the Ryder Cup, but I still think the U.S. has more talent, and I think they're going to win. So I'm over. I'm done with that.
All right, so So mine this week is Robert Sarver, and I think that this is as easy as it could be, right? Robert Sarver has done the right thing and still done the wrong thing. He's agreed to started the process to sell the Phoenix Suns and the Phoenix Mercury. In his statement, now you're talking about a guy that's finally just getting out of it, not making them be forced to sell the team after he's made a careers full of awful decisions. I'm going to read you his statement. As a man of faith, I believe in atonement and the path to forgiveness. I expected that the commissioner's 1-year suspension would provide the time for me to focus, make amends, and remove my personal controversy from the teams that I and so many fans love. But in our unforgiving climate, it has become painfully clear that is no longer possible. That whatever good I have done or could still do is outweighed by things I have said in the past. For those reasons, I am beginning the process of selling the Phoenix Suns and Mercury. I can't tell you how arrogant and ignorant that statement is. I'm glad he's selling the Phoenix Suns and Phoenix Mercury. I cannot wait till you are no longer in the news, and it's like somebody does something really bad, and then left-handed apologizes. Well, I'm sorry I hit you in my car, but I mean, kind of, you were driving, you cut me off. Like, I'm sorry I killed someone, but you were just in my way. They all it lacks empathy and remorse, and to talk about the good he's done while kind of half-hearted apologizing, it's an absolute joke. Robert Sarver's a piece of shit human being, and for that reason, this week again.
Come on, you gotta be kidding me.
I did want to just throw a comment on that real quick. I mean, in reality, that statement just basically told me everything I already knew anyway. There was rumors, I forgot which company it was, but there was rumors about a company threatening to end their partnership with the Suns. And so I'm assuming that was the case. And then there was more partnerships that were probably threatened to end as well. And he's like, I'm just going to cut bait while I can. And then he goes out and puts out that statement like, they're not going to forgive me. I know the commissioner only gave me a year. I would have stayed, but cancel culture basically is forcing me into selling the team. So, yeah, that's just the coward's way out. And I'm 100% with you, Gene.
Yo, if I'm like 10 seconds, then we got to end the show. But like, if you did that, start selling the team and said, listen, I realized that my actions were so reprehensible and so awful. I apologize, and I want to do the right thing and sell the team and get away from the society. He would have earned some respect back.
Yep.
Even after all the shitty things he's done. But the way he handled it shows me the human being that he is and lets me know that every accusation about him is absolutely accurate. So that's all I got. Show 102. Anybody else got a comment? Just to be clear, I battled through this show. I'm sick as a dog. I feel like absolute trash. I'm going to go to bed as soon as this is over. So if you haven't noticed, I'm sneezing. My nose is running. I apologize for anybody out there that if I didn't give you the best show I could.
I think you did a great job, Gene. I appreciate your perseverance.
All right. Well, with no final comments, this is Wire to Wire Sports Podcast, show 102. I hope you guys have a great rest of your night. I appreciate y'all. Take care.